The sky above the desert was clear that night. The stars looked calm and distant, the same way they had for thousands of years. But just after midnight, something changed. A bright streak of fire tore across the sky. At first, people thought it was a meteor. Telescopes and satellites quickly turned toward it. Scientists began tracking the object as it fell through the atmosphere. But this was no meteor. The object slowed down. It changed direction slightly, as if something inside it was still trying to control the fall. Then a massive shape broke through the clouds, glowing red with heat. For a moment, the entire desert lit up like daytime. Then the object slammed into sand. The ground shook for miles. Shock waves rolled across the empty landscape. Dust rose high into the air, forming a giant cloud that could be seen from space. Within minutes, alarms sounded in military bases around the world. Satellites focused on the crash site. Radar scanned the object. And very quickly, governments realized something that made everyone uneasy. The thing that crashed was not natural. It was a ship, a very large ship. The vessel was longer than an aircraft carrier and shaped like a long metal blade. Parts of its outer surface were cracked and blackened from fall. But even damaged, it did not look like anything humans had ever built. News spread fast. People around the world watched live footage from drones flying over the desert. The cameras showed the giant wreck half buried in sand. Strange metal plates covered the hull. Some of them shifted slightly as they cooled, as if the ship were alive. Military forces surrounded the area within hours. No one knew what to expect. Some believed the ship carried alien soldiers. Others feared hidden weapons. Scientists waited nervously as scanners studied the wreck from a safe distance. Then the first results arrived. The ship had no active weapons, no engines running, no life signs. Inside, the systems were silent, dead. The ship was empty. No crew, no passengers, just broken machinery. The news confused everyone. If this was an alien ship, why was it abandoned? Why crash on Earth? While scientists argued, another strange event happened. Several objects appeared in orbit above Earth. Large ships, much larger than the crashed vessel. Satellites captured blurry images of them drifting silently above the planet. For a few tense minutes, every government on Earth prepared for the worst. But the alien ships did not attack. They did not move toward Earth. Instead, a signal was sent. Every radio station, satellite receiver, and communication system picked it up at the same time. At first, the message was just noise. Then translation systems began working on it. It took several hours before the words became clear. When the message was finally understood, the results shocked everyone. The aliens had sent only a short sentence. Dispose of failed prototype. Planet suitable for waste. That was all. The ships in orbit remained for a few minutes longer. Then they turned away. One by one, they vanished into deep space. Earth was left silent again. But nothing felt the same, because the message meant something very clear. The aliens had not visited Earth for diplomacy. They had not come to explore. They had come to throw something away. The massive ship buried in the desert was not an invasion. It was garbage. Humanity had been used as a dumping ground. The news spread across the planet within hours. Some people were angry. Others were afraid. But scientists were excited, because inside that garbage were machines far beyond human technology. Teams of researchers were sent to examine the wreck. Carefully, they entered the giant ship through a cracked opening in the hull. The inside looked even stranger. Huge curved corridors stretched through the vessel. Strange glowing panels lined the walls. Most systems were damaged. Many rooms were filled with broken machines. But even the broken parts were incredible. Gravity engines sat in silent chambers. Metal plates shifted shape when touched, repairing small cracks by themselves. Power systems hummed softly even after the crash. Technology centuries ahead of anything on Earth. Yet it was all incomplete. Some machines were missing parts. Others were burned out. Many systems looked like experiments that had gone wrong. To alien engineers, the ship had clearly failed, so they threw it away. Most scientists studying the wreck came to the same conclusion. The ship was too damaged to understand, too broken to repair, too advanced for humans to use. In short, it was useless. But not everyone agreed. Deep inside the ship, a small group of engineers studied the alien machines carefully. They moved slowly through the corridors, examining wires, engines, and strange devices. One of them stood quietly beside a massive piece of machinery. His name was Dr. Marcus Hale. He was an engineer who had spent his entire life fixing impossible problems. He studied the alien systems with calm curiosity, broken circuits, strange materials, incomplete designs. To many people, the ship looked like failure. To him, it looked like a puzzle. One of the younger engineers spoke nervously. "This thing is ruined," she said. "Half the systems don't even work." Marcus looked at the machine in front of him and gently touched its surface. The metal shifted slightly under his hand. He smiled. "Maybe," he said, "but broken doesn't mean useless." The others looked at him. Marcus turned and glanced down the long alien corridor. Everywhere he looked, he saw possibilities, half-finished ideas, strange machines waiting to be understood. The aliens had thrown this ship away because it failed. But humans had a very different way of thinking. He folded his arms and quietly said the words that would later change everything. "Good engineers build things," Marcus said. "Great engineers fix what other people gave up on." He looked back at the alien machinery and smiled again, because humans had always been very good at one thing: fixing broken things. At first, the alien ship confused the scientists. Every system inside it behaved strangely. Machines started and stopped without warning. Energy flowed through circuits in unusual patterns. Some systems seemed to change their structure while running. To most researchers, it looked like terrible engineering. Several teams wrote reports saying the same thing. The ship was unstable. That was why the aliens had abandoned it. Dr. Marcus Hale read those reports quietly in the research tent beside the wreck. Outside, the desert wind pushed sand against the metal walls of the facility. Inside, engineers argued around glowing screens. One of them spoke loudly. "This design makes no sense," the engineer said. "Nothing stays stable. The power grid keeps changing direction." Another researcher nodded. "That's why the aliens threw it away. The whole system requires constant adjustment." Marcus looked up from the screen. "Constant adjustment?" he asked. "Yes," the engineer replied. During flight, the pilot would have to keep modifying the system. Engines, shields, power distribution. Everything. Marcus leaned back in his chair. Then he smiled. "That explains everything," he said. The room became quiet. One of the younger technicians looked confused. "Explains what?" Marcus stood and walked toward the display, showing the ship's engine structure. "This ship wasn't designed to be stable," he said. "It was designed to change." The engineers looked at the diagram again. The more they studied it, the clearer it became. The alien vessel had systems that could adjust themselves during operation. Engines could alter their output patterns. Power systems could reroute energy instantly. Structural plates could shift their shape while the ship moved. But to use these systems properly, someone had to guide them, constantly. Alien engineers hated that idea. Their technology relied on perfect calculations and predictable systems. Their ships were built to run exactly as planned. A machine that required improvisation during flight was considered inefficient, too complicated, too risky. So the aliens had labeled the design a failure and dumped it on Earth. Marcus folded his arms. To them, he said slowly, "This is a problem." He tapped the display. "To us, it's incredible, because human engineers were different. They were used to dealing with imperfect systems. They fixed machines that broke. They adjusted designs while building them. Improvisation was normal for them. Within weeks, a new plan began forming. Instead of repairing the alien ship exactly as it was, the engineers would rebuild it their own way. Work started immediately. Research teams moved deeper into the vessel. Broken alien automation systems were removed. Human control systems replaced them. Instead of relying on complex alien algorithms, engineers built human-guided decision networks. These allowed operators to adjust the ship's systems quickly and creatively. New equipment was added. Human design modules were attached to the alien hull. These sections could be replaced or upgraded without shutting down the ship. The alien engineers had never designed their vessel that way. To them, ships were fixed structures. Humans preferred flexibility. Months passed. Slowly, the dead alien ship began to wake up. Lights turned on again inside long, silent corridors. Power flowed through rebuilt systems. The gravity engines deep in the ship's core began to hum softly. One afternoon, a test team gathered inside the main control chamber. Screens floated in the air, showing energy readings. Power at 40%, one technician said. Engines responding, another reported. Marcus watched the numbers calmly. Adjust the flow, he said. The technician moved to control. Immediately, the ship reacted. Energy shifted smoothly across the system. Modules along the hull adjusted their position. A moment later, the technician laughed. It works. The room filled with quiet excitement. But Marcus shook his head. No, he said. We're just getting started. Because the ship was no longer the same machine the aliens had built. Human modifications had changed it completely. The vessel was faster, more flexible, more adaptable. It could alter its configuration while operating. It could upgrade systems without shutting down. It could even repair some damage while moving. Alien engineers would never design something like this. It was too unpredictable. But to human engineers, unpredictability was not a weakness. It was a tool, because humans followed a simple rule when building machines. If something worked, improve it. If something broke, improve it again. One evening, the entire engineering team gathered in the central chamber to watch the latest system test. The ship's main reactor powered up. Energy flowed through every deck. The vessel responded smoothly to every command. For the first time since crashing on Earth, the alien ship was fully alive again, but it was no longer an alien prototype. Marcus stood quietly beside the glowing control systems. One of the engineers looked at him. So what do we call it now? She asked. Marcus thought for a moment. Then he looked around the room at the rebuilt machine. The ship had been abandoned, discarded, left for dead. But now it was alive again, stronger than before. Marcus smiled slightly. Phoenix, he said. The name spread quickly through the research facility. Project Phoenix. A ship reborn from alien failure. A machine rebuilt from something the galaxy had thrown away. And somewhere far beyond Earth, the aliens who had abandoned their broken prototype had no idea what humanity was turning into. Years passed quietly after the alien ship crashed in the desert. At first, the world had been loud with excitement. News channels talked about the discovery every day. Governments argued about who should control the technology. Scientists from many countries rushed to study the strange vessel. But over time, the noise faded. The crash site remained active, but most people stopped paying attention. To the public, the alien wreck became just another secret research project hidden somewhere in the desert. Inside the massive ship, however, work never stopped. Project Phoenix continued to grow. Engineers rebuilt systems again and again. Some designs failed, but others worked better than anyone expected. New modules were attached to the alien hull. Old systems were replaced with improved versions. Every year the ship became stronger, more stable, more advanced. Human scientists learned things that had once seemed impossible. Gravity engines were redesigned. Energy systems became more efficient. Navigation controls were rebuilt using human decision networks. Slowly, the broken alien prototype became something completely new. And while this was happening, the rest of the galaxy barely noticed Earth at all. Alien civilizations had already made their judgment about the small blue planet. Primitive, young, unimportant. They had dumped a failed ship there years ago and moved on with their lives. Earth simply did not matter to them. But one day, something strange appeared on deep space sensors. Far beyond Earth's atmosphere, an unidentified object was leaving the planet's orbit. At first, alien observers ignored it. Many young civilizations had primitive spacecraft. The galaxy was full of them. But within minutes, something about the object began to confuse the sensor operators. The ship's energy readings did not match anything in their databases. Its power output kept changing. Sometimes the engines produced a steady signal. Then the signal shifted suddenly, as if the ship had completely altered its internal systems. Even stranger, its outer structure seemed to move. Sections of the vessel changed position while it traveled through space. Panels shifted, modules rotated. The ship was constantly adjusting itself. Alien monitoring stations began taking a closer look. High-resolution scanners focused on the vessel. What they saw only made the mystery worse. The ship was not large, but its performance readings were extraordinary. Its acceleration increased and decreased in unusual patterns. Its power systems adapted instantly to different conditions. The vessel moved through space like something alive. One observer stared at the data in silence. "That shouldn't be possible," he said quietly, "because ships were not supposed to behave like this." Civilized species built their spacecraft using stable designs. Once launched, the systems remained fixed. Changing them during flight would be dangerous, inefficient, unpredictable. But this vessel ignored those rules completely. And then the sensors identified something even more surprising. Deep inside the strange ship, the core technology looked familiar, very familiar. The database finally produced a match. Years ago, a certain alien engineering group had abandoned a failed prototype vessel. The design had been unstable and inefficient. It required constant adjustment during operation. The engineers had rejected it. Later, the prototype had been disposed of on a small developing world. Planet designation, Earth. The observer stared at the comparison results. The core engine structure matched that same prototype, but everything around it had changed. The ship now had new modules, new control systems, new energy structures. Its performance readings were far beyond the original design. In fact, it performed better than most modern vessels. Within hours, reports began spreading across several alien research networks. The Alien Council soon received the data. Members of the council gathered to review the strange discovery. A large display showed the human ship moving through space. It accelerated smoothly. Its systems shifted constantly as it flew. One council member spoke with confusion. "That design was rejected decades ago." Another nodded. "It was unstable. But this vessel appears extremely efficient." More scans appeared on the screen. The performance numbers were undeniable. The ship was faster, more stable, and far more powerful than the original prototype. The council members began asking questions. Who had rebuilt it? How had they done it? And why had the system instability disappeared? A quiet scientist sat near the back of the chamber, reviewing the data. He studied the engineering changes carefully. Human modules, modified control networks, completely redesigned system architecture. After several minutes, he leaned back slowly. The realization made him uneasy. He spoke softly, almost to himself. That ship was not repaired. Several council members turned toward him. He looked at the display again. The strange vessel continued its journey through space, its structure quietly shifting as it traveled. The scientist shook his head. It was redesigned. Silence filled the council chamber, because the records clearly showed where the original prototype had been discarded. A young, developing world. A planet that had never worked with alien technology before. Yet somehow, the inhabitants of that world had taken a failed alien machine and transformed it into something better. The scientist finally said the part that worried him the most. "And the species that redesigned it." He paused for a moment, then finished the sentence quietly. "Had no formal experience with alien technology." By the time Project Phoenix finally left Earth's orbit, several quiet human trade routes had begun expanding beyond the solar system. Small cargo ships traveled between distant stations, carrying supplies and research equipment. Most of the journeys were peaceful, but space was not always safe. Far from the major civilizations of the galaxy, pirate fleets often waited in deep space. They searched for easy targets, young species with weak defenses and slow ships. To them, humanity looked like a perfect opportunity. One pirate fleet had been watching human trade routes for weeks. Their scanners had detected the strange vessel leaving Earth, and curiosity quickly turned into interest. The ship looked unusual, but it was alone, and a lone ship for easy targets. The pirate commander gave the order to intercept. 30 ships moved through space toward the lone vessel. Their engines glowed as they surrounded it in a wide circle. Weapons powered up, sensors locked on. The human ship remained in the center of the formation, drifting calmly. Inside the control chamber, Commander Elena Ward sat in the pilot's chair. Soft light from floating displays reflected across the room. Around her, the ship's systems constantly updated their status. Power levels shifted. Navigation paths adjusted. Several engineers watched the screens with quiet excitement. This was the first full test of the ship outside Earth. Suddenly, a warning signal appeared. Multiple vessels approaching, one technician said. Elena studied the sensor display. 30 pirate ships. They were spreading out, blocking every escape route. A moment later, a communication signal appeared. The pirates had opened a channel. Elena accepted it. The image of a rough-looking alien appeared on the screen. His voice carried clear confidence. "You are surrounded," he said. "Power down your ship and prepare for boarding." The control room remained quiet. Elena leaned back in her chair. She looked at the shifting system displays around her. The ship's modules were adjusting slowly, responding to the nearby threat. The pirate commander waited for a response. Finally, Elena spoke. Her voice was calm and polite. "Negative," she said. The pirate frowned. "Repeat your answer." Elena tapped the control panel lightly. "I said negative," she replied. "I'm currently running system tests." The pirate commander stared at her for a moment. Then he laughed. 30 ships are pointing weapons at you," he said. "And you're running tests?" Elena nodded slightly. "Yes." The pirate commander's smile disappeared. "Then this test will end quickly." He gave the order to attack. The pirate fleet fired. Energy beams streaked across space toward the human ship. Inside Project Phoenix, alarms flashed for half a second. Then the ship moved. But it did not move the way normal ships did. Instead of turning slowly, sections of the vessel shifted. Modules rotated along the hull. Power flowed instantly to different systems. The ship slid sideways through space as if it had predicted the attack. The first wave of pirate fire missed completely. Inside the control room, the technicians watched the displays carefully. Elena remained calm. "Adaptive defense active," one engineer reported. "Enemy weapon analysis complete." The ship adjusted again. Energy shields shifted their pattern. Power rerouted to different sections of the hull. The pirate fleet fired another volley. Again, the ship responded instantly. Every attack was studied. Every weapon pattern analyzed. The ship adapted with each second of combat. Alien observers watching the battle through distant sensors could hardly believe what they were seeing. The human vessel was not simply reacting. It was learning. When pirate missiles approached, the ship changed its shield configuration. When energy cannons fired, the vessel altered its movement pattern. Every attack became less effective than the one before. Meanwhile, the human ship began responding, not with overwhelming destruction, but with precise control. Small bursts of energy disabled pirate engines. Targeted pulses shut down weapon systems. Within minutes, pirate ships began drifting helplessly in space. One by one, their systems went silent. The fleet that had once surrounded the human vessel now floated motionless around it. 30 ships, all disabled, none destroyed. Inside the pirate flagship, the commander stared at his dark weapon controls. Nothing responded. His engines were offline. His targeting systems were gone. The human ship appeared on his main screen again. Commander Elena Ward looked as calm as before. "Your vessels are no longer operational," she said politely. "You may surrender." The pirate commander said nothing for several seconds. Finally, he lowered his head. The entire pirate fleet transmitted a surrender signal. Far away, alien observers finished reviewing the battle data. They studied the ship's movements, its constant system adjustments, its unpredictable tactics. The reason became clear. The original alien prototype had failed because it demanded constant creative problem-solving. Alien pilots were trained to operate stable systems that followed strict calculations. They were not trained to improvise every second. Humans, however, were very different. Improvisation was normal for them. Creative problem-solving was natural. and the strange human vessel drifting quietly among 30 disabled pirate ships had just proven something the galaxy had never fully understood. Humans did not fear unstable systems. They mastered them. The battle with the pirate fleet spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Sensor logs, combat recordings, and analysis reports moved through research networks and government archives. Within hours, hundreds of alien civilizations had seen the same strange footage. A single ship, one vessel surrounded by 30 pirate warships. And within minutes, the pirate fleet had been completely disabled. Not destroyed, not erased, just stopped. What confused alien observers the most was not the result of the battle. It was how the ship had fought. The vessel had changed its structure during combat. Energy systems shifted constantly. Modules rotated along the hull. Defense patterns adjusted again and again. The ship adapted while the battle was happening. No known alien warship operated that way. Soon the Alien Council received a full report. The council gathered in their main chamber to discuss the discovery. A large display showed the strange vessel that humans now call Project Phoenix. The council members watched carefully as the battle recording played again. Pirate ships fired their weapons. The human vessel moved. Modules shifted. Energy patterns changed. Every attack became less effective. The ship adapted faster than its enemies could react. When the recording finished, silence filled the chamber. Finally, one council member spoke. This vessel uses the same core technology as the prototype we discarded years ago. Another member nodded. The same unstable design. But this ship performs far better than the original. That was the part that troubled them. The prototype had been abandoned for a clear reason. Its systems required constant improvisation. Pilots had to adjust engines, shields, and power systems during flight. Alien engineering philosophy avoided that kind of chaos. Ships were supposed to be predictable, stable, efficient. Machines should follow calculations, not improvisation. So the prototype had been labeled a failure and dumped on a young planet that barely understood space travel, planet Earth. Yet now the council was watching the same design outperforming modern vessels. One of the alien engineers in the chamber spoke slowly. The humans did not repair the prototype. He looked again at the system diagrams. They changed the entire philosophy of the design. More data appeared on the screen. Human control networks, modular components, flexible energy routing systems. The ship had been rebuilt around a completely different way of thinking. Another council member finally asked the question everyone was thinking. Why? The answer required speaking directly to Earth. A diplomatic message was sent. For the first time, the Alien Council contacted humanity about the discarded ship. The signal reached Earth several hours later. Inside a quiet conference room, the human ambassador read the message. It contained only one question. Why would humans take a discarded prototype and turn it into such a powerful vessel? The ambassador smiled slightly when he finished reading. Then he sent the reply. His answer was very short. Because you threw it away. The message returned to the council chamber. Several council members stared at the words. One of the engineers leaned back slowly. He understood what the human meant. The ship had not failed because the design was impossible. It had failed because alien pilots were not trained for it. Improvisation was considered inefficient. Experimentation was discouraged. Pilots followed precise calculations and fixed procedures. Humans had no such limitations. Their engineers experimented constantly. Their pilots adapted quickly. Their systems were built to change. To humans, instability was not a flaw. It was a challenge. The council reviewed the human battle data one last time. Project Phoenix drifting calmly in space. 30 pirate ships powerless around it. A machine that constantly adjusted itself while operating. A design once rejected as too chaotic to function, now perfected by a species that thrived on chaos. Finally, the council updated their official records. Planet classification, Earth. The change was not based on military strength, not based on fleet size, not even based on technological level. The new classification described something far more unusual. Humanity possessed a rare engineering trait. They saw potential where others saw failure. They found solutions where others saw problems. They turned discarded technology into something better. A final note was added to the Council archives, a simple warning for future civilizations. The sentence soon spread quietly across research networks throughout the galaxy. If humans ever ask for your discarded technology, do not give it to them, because history had now proven something very clear. Humans had a habit of taking broken things and turning them into something far more powerful.